So today I'm going to be talking about how to write an exponential function from a situation. So I'm looking at problem number 11 from the review sheet, and it says, you buy a new car for $20,000, but it loses 20% of its value each year. So when we're thinking about how to write an exponential function, the first thing we have to think about is the general formula for an exponential function, which is f of x equals a times b to the x. So what does this equation mean? A is going to be our starting value. So looking at this problem, what is our starting value? Well, we bought a new car, so when we started with our car, it originally cost us $20,000. So I would write f of x equals 20,000. All right, and then what is our b? Our b represents our ratio of change. It describes how the function is changing. So looking at this problem, what is the big clue as to how this price is changing? Our big clue is 20%. So we know that 20% has to do with our ratio of change. Now the important thing to notice here then is our change representing an increase or a decrease? Can we find a clue in the scenario that describes an increase or a decrease? Our clue is that it loses 20% of its value. So when I see loses 20%, I think, okay, I have my original car that had 100% of its value, and it lost, which means subtraction, 20% of its value. So what do I get when I subtract these 2%? I get 80%. So this means that my ratio of change is going to be 80%. Now when we write an exponential function, we don't like to keep it in percents. We like to put it as a decimal. So we can take our percent and we can move the decimal place over to, and that'll give us our decimal, which is 0.80. And this right here is our b. So I know that my b is 0.8 to the x, which means that my final equation is f of x equals 20,000 times 0.8 to the x.